Hey, deserving listeners, The Ultimatum on Netflix. Let's watch.
This in public. What she be doing when y'all at home?
Okay. I mean,
You know what I'm
that's...
saying? And she's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, Randall kissed me. Oh, yeah, me and Randall be cuddling. Me and Randall be getting hard when we be cuddling. Like, bro.
I get that. Mind you, that's something that I don't feel like she should have said.
So Shanique right now is talking with her partner, her original partner, Randall, and saying, the person that you're with, Madeline, has been telling me about you guys cuddling, kissing, your sexual arousal, and I'm upset about that. And Randall is saying, well, that's not something she's supposed to be talking about. I wish she hadn't. And, you know, I'm curious as to what the landscape here is, because they voluntarily went on a show that they knew that was going to involve this. Shanique went on the show knowing that Randall was going to be living with someone else. And the assumption was that Randall was going to be essentially trying out another relationship, presumably having some physical contact. I don't know. Maybe the two of them had a conversation like, look, you can live with them, you can sort of socialize, but don't have anything physical. I highly doubt that they had that conversation, but I don't know. So I understand where Shanique is coming from. Of course, most people would be jealous or hurt or concerned or something that the love of their life, Randall, has been getting together with someone else. So, but you're on the show. That's the whole purpose of the show. But maybe she's just saying, I don't know how to feel about these feelings. Let's see how they manage this conversation.
Is that what happened?
But I expressed that to you. I told you that.
Is that what happened? Did you be getting hard when y'all be cuddling?
If it happened, it happened. But that doesn't mean it's... See, the thing is, I'm a guy. It's natural.
Okay, so Shanique is seemingly accusing him of something indirectly. She's not being super direct about what she's upset about, but it sounds like from her tone that she's upset that he became aroused while he was with Madeline. And good on him for not lying. He could say she's lying, but and who knows, maybe she might be lying, but he's confirming that it happened. And he's like, look, it's natural to happen. I'm a man. It might happen. Now, I'll say that gender doesn't have a lot to do with it. Certainly when you're attracted to someone and you're comfortable, anyone of any gender might have arousal signs, but, anyway. So he is saying, yeah, it happened. So he feels like he has to defend himself. If I were there, I would say, Shanique, do you want to get out of this experiment? Because, you did voluntarily head into this. It sounds like it's taking a toll, which maybe you didn't predict, which totally makes sense. Do you want to pull out? Do you want to do you want Randall to come back with you? Do you not want, because it's going to be a few more weeks of Randall and Madeline getting together. Now, we saw the previous night where Randall and Madeline had a pretty awful, seemingly intoxication-laden fight. So maybe Randall and Madeline are done. But anyway, and if I were talking to Randall, I'd say something like, try to figure, and this is where we can learn from this, is when your partner comes at you, they almost never come at you with what they're really concerned about. So Shanique is coming across like, you are a bad person because, or you are a bad boyfriend or something because you got sexually aroused with Madeline. But underneath that, in all likelihood for Shanique, is, I don't want to lose you, Randall. I'm in love with you. If I look here, Shanique was the one who gave the ultimatum. Shanique is the one, I really want to marry you, Randall. So for her to go through this, it's hard for her, and she doesn't want to lose him. Now, if Randall picks up on that, he could say something like, Shanique, even though that happened with Madeline, know that I am loyal to you. Or is he? But at least he could address that. Let's see what he says here.
I'm sleeping with a girl.
So you're okay with Zay getting hard when he sits next to me?
At that time, I was drunk. It was an excuse. But you're like, why are you looking away and not listening? Your whole thing was, you want to be a better listener just like I want to.
So they're starting to get to that threshold where it becomes not constructive, or neither person is participating in constructive talk. She's turning away. In couples therapy language, we call this stonewalling. You're essentially so upset physically, you might not know that, but you are, that you just can't take it and you'll turn away, and shutting the other person out. sometimes as a passive aggression of, I want to show you that what you're doing is upsetting me, but I can't use my words, so I'm going to use turning away from you. So she's doing that. And I'm just confused because Shanique was the one who decided to come on the show. That's the whole purpose. I think she was the one who actually asked Randall to go on the show. So anyway, so she says, how would you feel if Zay got sexually aroused with me? And Randall essentially said something like, he didn't really answer that question. He said, I was drunk at the time. Okay, I'm just confused because they're acting like they're cheating on, Shanique is acting like he's cheating on her when all of this was consented weeks in prior to this, maybe months prior to this. So I don't understand now I understand that Shanique would be hurt and concerned for sure. Maybe she thought something else would happen, like Randall would just immediately reject Madeline on the very first day and there wouldn't be any kind of physical contact.
You want to kiss Madeline?
Okay, see, this
Y'all want to cuddle?
all right.
You didn't want to get hard? Y'all want to?
You're not. It's funny because you're not. Like,
Y'all,
come
no,
on,
y'all want to do all that? Cool.
all right.
Cool. That's what you want me to say, right?
This is the thing that we've been talking about for the longest. You're not listening.
The way I would describe this is she is being sarcastic, essentially, because she doesn't feel like she can be direct or doesn't even potentially even know what she's going through. Because I think if she were to explore that, and all of us do this, but I think if she were to take a beat, she would say, I volunteered to come on the show. I actually asked Randall to date someone else. By signing the contract for the show, I was asking Randall, please date someone else, because I was hoping that he would realize what a good relationship we have and he would agree to marry me. Or when I signed up for this thing, I didn't really predict that I was going to get upset. So it's not really fair for me to attack him in this instance, but I still have these feelings. So how do I navigate that, right? So she could come at him and say, look, there's nothing wrong with what you did, but I just have to say it when I learned about it, I had an unpredictable feeling about what happened to me, about, how I would react to that. So I think that's where she's coming from. But, she's being sarcastic, like, fine, you want to kiss her, you want to get turned on by her, that's on you. And so that's what she's saying. But I think underneath is these other things. For him, he is on a totally different track. And this is what'll happen in couples conflict is they're both in different worlds, essentially. She is on that place, I think, and he is on this place of, you never listened to me, and here you are again not listening to me. And so they're both not. So she either one of them could get in the other person's world, and they could potentially head towards constructive places. She could temporarily table where she's at and say, okay, I'm sorry, what do you want to tell me? I do want you to feel like I'm listening to you, because that's important in a relationship. And she could temporarily say, okay, what are you trying to get across to me? And then and then he communicates, and she's like, okay, I hear you in that way. Can we get back to my thing? And then maybe that could happen. Or he could go into her world and say, okay, she's not listening to me. I have a resentment about that, but I'm going to forgo that because it doesn't do any good to be in different tracks here. So I'm going to table that until later. I'll enter her world right now and say, okay, Shanique, so what I'm hearing you say is, it seems like you're upset that I got together with Madeline. Is that true? And then maybe go down a road like that. But neither one of them is doing that.
Or deflect from
That's what I feel like you do all the time.
Okay, but that's what I'm working on. This is something I'm working on. And I told you this, it's obvious.
I'm
it's out there.
confused.
I'm gonna be real. So for me to say, like, let me just go leave Madeline by herself and then just go.
So you give more of a fuck about
what I'm
Madeline's
saying
feelings
is-
than my feelings right
all
now?
I'm saying is,
Bro, you
and you're
got me
gonna,
fucked up.
but you're
Yeah, I'm confused. I would love to ask Shanique in this moment, is this not going the way you thought it was? Because if she was led to believe something else, then this would make sense. But if she said, well, yeah, I did consent, and yeah, I knew he was going to be dating someone else, and yeah, I knew he was going to be living with another woman for 3 weeks, a woman that he chose, he chose her among a number of women to spend that time with. And yeah, so I don't know, because the way she's coming across, it's it's like she's been blindsided by a process that she wasn't prepared for. Or did she know, and is she just regretting it or just overwhelmed with the feelings of hurt?
Walking away. But what I'm saying is, Shanique, don't walk away. It's no purpose of walking away.
Nah, you got me fucked up. You got me fucked up.
I don't know what's happening exactly, but in the John Gottman research and model of couples therapy, there are what he calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, meaning that there are 4 harbingers of divorce or breakup. There is criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. And stonewalling is one of the most destructive things that you will see in a couple that is highly predictive of breaking up in the future. Not always, but it's very predictive. And this is an example seemingly of stonewalling, where you're trying to have a conversation and one person just completely cuts themselves off from another person. Having said that, there are situations where it is functional to take a break. And so there's a difference. There's a difference between stonewalling someone and asking for a break. And this doesn't look like that. If she wanted to take a break, she would say, Randall, I need like 15 minutes because I'm really upset and I am starting to freak out and I'm seeing things very negatively right now. So I need to take a walk for 15 minutes and then I'll be better able to have a conversation. That can actually be very functional, because when we're highly aroused, physically, distress-wise, it's really hard for us to think straight. It's really hard for us not to be very negative toward our partners. We're very prone to hurting them in ways that we wouldn't do normally. And so taking a break can be very functional, very helpful. In fact, it is one of the antidotes to stonewalling, which is, at the very least, to deep breathe, to notice that your distress level is going up. So I'm guessing for her distress level is going up. She either was aware of it or not, starts to see things very negatively, starts to feel a lot of emotions of pain and agony, and just has to get away. Also, like I said earlier, it's a passive aggression of, I'm going to walk away and I hope that you understand what I'm trying to communicate to you. I'm trying to communicate to you, I disapprove, I don't like that, please stop doing that. And of course, it's not a really effective way of communicating that.
You just said the wrong shit. You just said the wrong shit.
I get it, like Shanique is a jealous person, but she's the one that brought me onto this ultimatum. That was the whole point, for us to be fully immersed in this process and not worried about our ex. Let me walk you out.
Okay, that's what my suspicion was, or I remember that detail. So Randall is saying Shanique was the one that wanted us to come on the show because she wanted me to, and I guess it is a big question mark as to why the different couples came, why the different ultimatum people came on the show. Were they hoping that they would, during those 4 days, meet 5 other women and see, no, none of these women are as good as you. I don't even want, like the way that those other couples did. They, I guess that worked with Hunter, right? With Alexis and Hunter. Alexis had the ultimatum, brought him on the show, and Hunter, foregoed the next phase and actually just proposed right away. Nate and Lauren as well. So was she hoping for that? I don't know. But hopefully they'll be able to communicate and explore that together.
For her to think that I'm going to be being miserable for 3 weeks, it's stupid. This is something that I did not want to fucking do. But you offered me this ultimatum. I'm with Madeline, right? You're with Zay. You're my ex in this whole story. It's hard to hear. I get it. And you don't want to listen right now.
All right, you my ex. Cool.
That's not what I'm saying.
We're not in a relationship.
I think he's doing a valiant effort to try to help. I think he's trying to retain their relationship. I don't know. Or he's trying to evade guilt or something. He's trying to help her to see what I think might help her to see, which is that this was her choice. We'd have to know what's going on in Randall's mind, because I think there's a good possibility that he ultimately does want to be with Shanique and not Madeline, particularly after last night. Or there's a chance that he's thinking, maybe after this whole process, I don't even want to be with Shanique, especially after seeing this. She's the one that dragged me on the show. So here we are again with her being disapproving and hostile towards me and then stonewalling me. Now, she was referring to him in the past being a pretty bad communicator, and he's saying, I'm trying to change. So maybe this is kind of his new stance. Who knows? I think he's trying. He's like, look, you're the one who dragged me on the show. And he's holding her hands. He's trying to reach out to her, trying to connect, and she is continuing to shut him out. I'm just going to assume that she is just overwhelmed with pain and is just having a hard time navigating that. Maybe tomorrow she'll be able to revisit this with him.
Relationship ruined. I have no loyalty to you. I have no respect for our relationship.
What?
Because we're exes. I don't have to speak to you. I don't have to talk about nothing. I don't have to.
Come on. So, Shanique, we're gonna have to be mature about this.
I'm being very mature.
You're not.
I'm being very mature.
Little tip, when you're in a conflict, even if this seems rational as a perspective, for example, you're not being mature right now, refrain from saying such things. It's only going to hurt. There are so many other ways to word that. And one of the best guidelines you can follow is always return to your own feelings. Not like, I feel like you're being immature. That's not a feeling. It's not an emotion. Return to your core emotion. It's almost always pain or fear. Sometimes anger as motivated by pain or fear, but it's one of those two. So always think in these situations, what am I afraid of and what am I hurt by? And so I'm thinking for Randall, if he were to dig down deep, I hypothesize he would come to the conclusion and then be able to say something like, because, I love you and I want to be with you, and you were wanting to marry me and I wasn't ready yet, but I still wanted to be with you. You brought me on the show and I wasn't so enthusiastic, but eventually I went along with it. We both agreed that we were going to date someone else for 3 weeks. So I'm doing everything that you set up, and I still love you. I still want to be with you. I'm not sure if I want to get married yet, but because that still stands. And I'm now hanging out with Madeline, and I'm giving it a try. That's what we're supposed to do here. We've had one day together, and to be honest, it didn't go well. So I'll just be upfront about that. But who knows over the next 3 weeks? I don't know. And if I fall in love with her, then I guess that tells me something about me and you. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's, and so for me, so I'm not saying emotions right now, by the way. I'm saying so not only your emotions, but sometimes it's good to talk from your own experience. Just like, here's how I've been experiencing this whole thing. This is how I saw that, because sometimes I can really help the other person understand why you're coming across the way that you do. Okay, so then he says all that, and then and then he could say, in this moment, I am afraid that based on what you're doing right now, you're basically rejecting me right now. You're giving me this attitude, like, even after this process, you don't want to be with me, which is really hurtful because I don't want to lose you. And I feel like you're the one that set this whole thing up. So I feel like I'm being blamed for something that isn't fair to me. And two, I'm afraid I'm going to lose you. I'm terrified. I don't want to lose you. Okay. So that is undebatable. To say you're immature isn't necessarily true. It's hurtful. She's going to get defensive, and it doesn't communicate what's really happening for you. And it doesn't give the other person the opportunity to rise to the occasion and take care of you.
I'm confused because I was told that I'm living with somebody else and that's my new person for these 3 weeks. I was told that.
And you're so okay with it. That's the problem.
I'm not okay with what the fuck?
You're too comfortable with the idea of being with somebody else. That's all I'm saying. It should be.
Okay, we're still kind of in a weird zone with Shanique, but I think we're getting more to the core issue, and she's being more communicative. So she is saying, it's not that you're with Madeline. I knew that was going to happen, but you just seem so okay with it. Okay, now we're getting to what is really at the core, is I thought that you were going to begrudgingly be with someone else and it wasn't going to go well. That's what I was hoping for, and that's what I thought would happen. But right away, I got the impression from Madeline that the two of you are just all over each other. And it just seemed like you just instantly wanted to be with someone else. And that hurts me. It makes me wonder, did you ever love me? Okay, so she's not saying that. That'd be good if she could say stuff like that, because then he could actually respond to that. But I think we're getting to that spot. Let's see how she does here.
It's hard for you not to see me.
What the fuck do you want me to do? You want me to just sit in my corner?
Sit in the fucking corner and miss me.
Shanique, then that's obvious.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm gonna need you to like really grow up about this.
I thought she was joking. I hope she was joking. So she's saying, yeah, I wanted you to sit in a corner and do nothing with Madeline. And I thought, oh, she's making a joke. That's good. She's creating levity. And then he could say, okay, fine, I'll sit in a corner. But then he proceeds to insult her again, which isn't going to go well.
That was the dumbest thing I've heard tonight. You want me to sit in the corner? Come on now.
All right.
Please.
This was a great conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So then he even said that she's basically dumb, or that's the dumbest thing. And she's hurt by that and walks away. Unfortunate. And I'm guessing that what we just saw was indicative of conflicts that they've had in the past. I was getting the impression like on camera, Randall was able to kind of be more constructive, or be on the constructive side of the spectrum that he's capable of. I think right now we're seeing an average interaction between the two of them, where she is hurt and communicating it in a obscured manner, and he is then getting angry and insulting. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.